Hi, it's Michelle Ockers. Welcome to What I Learned this month for March 2019. First thing I'd like to talk about is mental models. I've been conscious for some time of the power of mental models, and a lot of that consciousness has been built through my work last year with Aaron Padan, the creator of Learn to Learn app, and a prolific speaker and writer about learning agility. I was reminded of the power of mental models during March and up to my deliberate practice and attention to mental models as a result of attending Aaron's Learning Disruption workshop in Sydney. I like the way Aaron defines mental models quite broadly as kind of a set of theories, concepts, frameworks, heuristics or rules or assumptions about how the world works or how things work in the world, and suggests that being aware of and building our repertoire of mental models is a way of improving the flexibility of our thinking and our way of interacting with the world, the quality of our work and interacting with others. And I definitely find this to be the case. I follow Aaron's practice. I use Evernote. You might use another tool, but the key practice I find that helps is to keep a collection of mental models, which I do in Evernote because I can synchronize across multiple devices. That's my iPad. I've got other devices, and I can get access to my mental models at any time if I want to refresh and work at memorizing some of those, or just make sure I've got them right when I want to use them. So examples of some of the mental models that I work with that I've got captured in my collection are Mosher and Gottfriedsen's 5 Moment of Learning Needs, Stakeholder Engagement Map Framework, Empathy Map, T-shaped skills, a set of skills that go broadly to a certain depth across a discipline for a person, but more deeply in specialist areas. So I'm just finding that having been reminded and bringing my attention back to mental models, I've done a little bit of a cleanup, got rid of some old ones that were no longer relevant or working for me, and because better ones have come along, or I've been conscious of some research that maybe has debunked or devalued some of the old ones. It's increasing the flexibility of my thinking and the efficiency of my work. And I notice that if I'm consciously looking for models, I'm more alert and finding others that I can adapt or utilize in my own work, or building my own by being conscious of the way I'm thinking and working with the world. So give mental models a try if you're not already trying them. Really helpful. Second thing I want to talk about in terms of what I've been learning in March is around data analytics. Hot topic in learning and development at the moment. Donald Taylor recently released his Global Sentiment Survey, which just looks at one key question: what's going to be hot in the coming year in learning and development? It is sentiment. It's not about what should be hot. It's where is people's attention going? And the top 3 responses to that survey all focused around the data theme. It's also one of the 25 skills that was identified in the Learning and Performance Institute's capability map for learning and development, which I work with as part of capability building for learning teams. So I'm very conscious that in addition to encouraging others to improve their skills working with data, this is something I need to be doing more of in my own business and in the work I'm doing with clients on different projects. So one of the things I've noticed when using data, looking at data, doing data analysis as part of looking at the capability set within learning and development teams, key area of work I'm focusing on at the moment, is the interplay between granular data, or all your source data, and aggregated data. And my observation has been that working with aggregated data in a smaller data set can hide important nuances in the data set. The bigger the data set, the less outliers or these nuances impact what you're looking at. But working with relatively small data sets, I think you need to be really careful about the impact of outliers. So for instance, if I'm looking at a skill set across a learning and development team, if it's a smaller team, just 1 or 2 people with a high skill set can skew the average and disguise the fact you might still have a lot of people who need to develop a specific capability set. I'm also working on improving the way I present data, the way I analyse and present it to tell a story, and in particular my visual representation of data. So one of the things I've done, not being a graphic designer, is I've been looking for the way others present data to come up with ideas for how to better present data visually. And there are a couple of sources I found really helpful. One is the Towards Maturity annual reports, because they work with big data sets and look for themes and patterns and insights, and they've got quite a neat way of presenting some of that data. And the other thing is just to look for infographics and trawl through infographics online. Pinterest is a good source of that. So that's certainly a skill set that I, along with many in the learning profession, will continue to develop. One of the key ways to do that is simply hands-on practice and continuous improvement of my own data analysis and representation skills without having to be a big data expert. The third lesson I like to include every month is something that's not work related, and this month it's a health and well-being lesson from personal experience. When I got back from the UK after a couple of weeks trip in mid-February, I went through a period where I was quite tired and feeling a bit run down, a bit demotivated, and I just thought it was jet lag. I had an annual health check in mid-March, and what came back from the blood test was that I was actually quite low on iron. Now, I'm going to talk about something that people for some reason tend to get really emotive about, and that's the idea of a vegan diet or plant-based diet. I started a vegan diet in January this year, which on balance has suited me really well. And I did it partly because my daughter has been vegan for a couple of years, so I've been kind of educating myself a bit more about a vegan diet. Some people are going to be very critical of a vegan diet without perhaps having done the research. So I have gone on to iron. I have started eating a little bit of meat, but not a lot. Obviously, I need more iron in my diet than I was getting. But one of the pieces of research I did was around something called blue zones. I became aware of blue zones through a podcast, the Plant Proof podcast, episode 59, with a medical doctor, Dr. Renee Thomas, if anyone's interested. But this blue zone project is a global study of communities that display unusual longevity and high quality of life. And it's more a holistic study. It's not just about diet, but about all aspects of lifestyle, of community and so on that support longevity and high quality of life. The one aspect I want to focus in on today, you can explore for yourself at the website. I'll include a link to it on my blog with this video. That in terms of diet, what they found is that people who are living over 100, their research shows that they eat a 95% plant-based diet. So lots of beans, greens, grains and nuts. And there have been lots of studies in recent years, lots of longevity studies, which show that eating more fruits and vegetables does promote longevity and high quality of life with longevity. So although I'm going to eat a little more meat and watch those iron levels, I will continue eating a predominantly plant-based diet because I think long term it's healthier for me.